Hello, and welcome to another episode of Go, Go, Grow. If you are looking to scale your business, to start it with a firm foundation, or grow beyond your wildest dreams, you're in the right place. My name is Michelle Page. I'm your host and also the founder of Revenue Chasers. And I'm joined today by Nomiki Petrolla. Nomiki is the founder of PDS Lab, and more recently, also the founder of Theanna. So welcome to Go Go Grow.
Thank you so much for having me today, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So it's always wonderful to celebrate entrepreneurs. And I find it even more exciting to celebrate women entrepreneurs helping and supporting women entrepreneurs.
hmm
So thank you for that.
Yeah, it wasn't always that way. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I really figured out what my calling was. And now I'm obsessed and it will be me forever.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful service, not just to the women that you work with, but to the entire economic push
hmm
for getting technology out there. So let's talk about what PDS Lab is and kind of how it came to be.
Sure. So the lab is an accelerator for women at the idea stage, primarily for women that don't have a technical background or have not been immersed in a technical landscape, maybe a marketing or sales job at a tech company. The lab started, well, let's rewind. So, about 15
Okay.
years ago, I started my career in technology. That was my first job the last 15 years. I was a product designer. I was designing solutions for entrepreneurs and companies that I worked with in tech in the 0 to 1 space. So, truly at the idea stage, all the way to launch. And I worked mainly for men, lots of brilliant men that supported me, gave me opportunities, and I had a lot of success. What happened was my role as a designer sort of evolved to working with developers, and those developers became my primary source of referrals to entrepreneurs that needed my support. They
Mhm.
needed people, someone to do design, marketing, maybe pitch deck stuff, all these different things that brought a business from the engineering side together with all these other outside things. And that just was my second business outside of being a W 2 employee for a really long time. Some of the founders that I've worked with have exited for 7 and 8 figures. We've raised over $220 million in funding from them combined.
Wow.
It's been amazing. But a couple years ago, we had a life altering event. And that sort of gave me a new perspective on life and what I should be doing. I had a great career. I was a head of product at an AI company. I was working with the smartest people that I knew. I was constantly pushing my personal and professional boundaries. I was learning a lot. I was definitely excelling and making good money, frankly. But I wasn't doing something for me. And when this life event happened, it sort of said, no, Mickey, it's time now. You're done having kids. Now it's time for you to actually lean into yourself and what you should be
Mhm.
doing. And the lab was sort of born from my learning that women that were not in roles like mine did not have the same access to even learning how to come up with an idea or bring it to life. So the lab
Yeah.
was born to help those women, basically to replicate my learnings from the past 15 years into them, because I am not a rocket scientist. I am just really scrappy. I'm very resourceful. I'm a good communicator. I like to solve problems. And a lot of people can have those same skills. So, really, the lab was, let me teach women how to do what I do because they can also open doors for themselves. And we launched early this year, January 3rd. It's been incredible. I just hit a financial milestone yesterday that
Wow.
I didn't think I would hit after 6 months of earning revenue. So it's been amazing and has opened my eyes to a lot of other things that I really want to solve for women in tech.
That is an absolutely inspiring story. And one of the things that you've said, and it hits me right here, is women have not lacked the ability. They've never
hmm
lacked the ability. They've just lacked the resources. And
hmm
that's true. I'm not a feminist. Um, I believe every single person should have equal access, and that gives them equal opportunity. So let's not say, well, this person gets more rights. Just give them access to everything, that everybody else has
Mhm.
access to. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. And I think that's what needs the light shown on it. So let's
Well, I
talk
think
about
if
that.
we look at the data, yeah. So I agree that everyone should have access to the same things. But if we look back on the data, first of all, women didn't like work until the 50s, right? We
Right.
didn't have rights to do things like get a mortgage, go to a bank and open a bank account. So we're behind, right? We're playing catch up.
Yes.
But now, as of today, 73% of women are primary caretakers. We're caring for family members, aunts, uncles, children, parents. So because we're focused
And
on caretaking,
sometimes all of that at one time.
all of it, right?
Yeah.
So we're the nurturers of the home, and majority of us are at least. And we have it's the access to all those other things isn't because someone's saying no, you shouldn't be doing it. It's simply by the nature of our gender and what's been happening in life for the past 50, 70 years now. So we're evolutionizing for sure, but generally the data supports that we don't have the same access, but it starts there. And now 33% of women have tech jobs, 2% get funding, 2% of women only receive access seven figures in business, right? So I think there is time for evolution and we're going to get there, but the data supports that the access isn't just because it's men against women. It's simply by the nature of who we are too. And we're trying to figure that out. Every decade that goes on, we're
Yeah.
learning more and we're moving the needle. So it's just a matter of time, in my opinion.
What you just said, we're moving the needle. I think the healthiest way to look at it, and this is a Michelle perspective. I don't like to look at, okay, well, what was history, but what should the future be? And look at what you're doing with PDS Lab and Theanna, and you're saying, okay, here's where we are today. This is where we want to be. How are we going to get there? Let's
Mm-hmm.
proactively take it to where um, these women have brilliant ideas. And again, not women versus men, but the women, maybe they didn't feel like they had an opportunity because they didn't see the resources. They didn't know about the resources. And what I find interesting, and I'd love for you to kind of dig into this, your phrasing of non-technical female founders, but as a tech accelerator. Now, I'm pretty sure I know what that means, but maybe our audience doesn't.
Yeah, of course. So I focus heavily on product. Product and technology are sometimes interchangeable, but in this case, what I mean by product, it's actually the vehicle, the solution that you're creating for the technical business that you're building, right? The tech startup, rather.
Mhm.
What I teach is the fundamental building blocks of product development. So product managers, they're known as the CEO of product, CEO of building something in a company. They're very entrepreneurial. They are very good problem solvers. They can see things behind them and in front of them, and right then they're very quick. Product managers are expensive because they have all the skills as a CEO, but they're just acting boots on the ground. So what I'm doing is teaching women how to basically be the head of product of their own companies so that they don't have to dilute themselves by bringing in someone technical. So I'm not an engineer. I'm pretty scrappy. I could code my own website and do those things, but I'm not an engineer by trade. I just learned all the things that go into building product, all the things that go into tech in general, how to solve problems, right?
Right.
Learning what don't I know and how can I apply that to a solution that I'm trying to build? What are my options? And I teach women to think critically just like that in product. They might be doing that in their jobs. You know, we have attorneys, we have healthcare workers, we have operational experts. They are now taking those transferable skills and putting it to product. And I'm showing them how they can do that. So really it's focused on how can I build a product from scratch? How does that align with the mission that I want to build, the mission of my company, and the problem I really want to solve? What are my options and how can I get out the door faster? What's nice about technical evolution over time is that, especially in the last 10 years, there are so many no code tools that you do not have to be an engineer to build. You can go out there on the internet tomorrow, build an app using Bubble or Flutterflow or Retool or whatever it is, and bring it to life the next day, test it with some users, and find a business. So
Wow.
I'm teaching them how to do those things so that they can get there faster.
That I have never even heard of those technologies. So That right there is illuminating. So that's
Mhm.
that's fantastic that you bring that value. So let me paint a picture of my understanding, and you tell me if I'm on track or not.
Okay.
Okay, so a non-technical female founder that might be a good candidate for a tech accelerator. Let's say I'm a non-technical person, definitely have business skills, sales, marketing, revenue, operational. However, I can't program, code, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have a family member and they have a medical condition and they have unusual symptoms. So it's not the normal, if they wore a heart monitor or if they wore a wearable that they put in like their blood sugar and their blood pressure and things like that. But if we could only make a wearable that, could track such and such, but I just know that there's a need. And if we could design this solution, I would need somebody to help me with that. Is that the type of
Mm-hmm.
non-technical founder you
So
see a solution and need help building it?
yes, absolutely. So really they're people that identify problems that they know they can solve because they feel the deep pain points
Mm-hmm.
of the potential customer. So in your case, you're the non-technical founder, your family member is struggling with monitoring their symptoms, and you want to create a solution that potentially can show them day by day how they're either improving or decreasing in their symptoms daily so that you can give them solutions. That's what people are coming to build. So my job as a technical person or some hybrid technical person is to teach you how that process works. How do you come up with the solution? How do you brainstorm? How do you validate it through problem ideation? How do I take that and put it into a customer experience where we can figure out what does this actually look like and how can that user use the tool? So that's what my job is.
That that's fascinating. So, who
Mhm.
actually builds it? Do you
So that
put
depends.
the founder in touch with those skilled technical people, and they build those
It varies.
relationships?
Yeah, it heavily varies. I'm very cash conscious. So I actually push my founders if they can. Not every solution can be done with a no code tool. It's just the nature of what the product is. But
Mm-hmm.
majority of them can for a proof of concept. Buying one of those or using one of those is like $50 a month. It's really inexpensive for you to play around without having to spend money on a technical person, which costs
A
thousands of
little bit
dollars a
more.
month, right?
Yeah.
A lot more. So there's another reason to this. I want to push non-technical people to their friction point. What I mean by that is the only way that they're going to bring in someone technical and be able to have a fruitful conversation on how they can work together is by the non-technical person learning as much as possible
Yeah.
about what technology does. So the majority of the founders, now this varies on risk tolerance, their variables, how much they have to spend, how fast they're trying to launch, how much they want to learn. There's so many variables, right? But majority of them say, I want to learn so that I can be a better founder. I need to learn this because if I do end up hiring someone, I need to understand the language. So I push them to
Yes.
that point because it's going to help them in the long run. And I really, really want to help women sustainably rather than, oh, this is a quick 6 month tool program and you're done. I care about the longevity of what you're trying to do, and I'm trying to set you up for success by those foundational building blocks.
That is so relevant in every situation of business. You need to be immersed enough that you can carry on a meaningful conversation with those people as you expand your team. So you're not just
Mhm.
saying, you know what, I'm not sure. You figure it out and make those decisions. No, as founder, you need to be able to have those conversations and be part of that decision-making process. Yes, you can trust
Mhm.
your team members, but you should not be ignorant by choice of what's going on in your company.
Well, you have to remember too, the average age of our founder at the lab is late 30s. By the time you get to people that have been so experienced in work, they're ready to delegate and they might not have the energy or the fuel to be boots on the ground every day. So I do have people that will come to me and say, hey, I actually want to bring this person in. They're going to do the work and I'm going to help this vision. I'm like, you're probably not a good fit because I don't believe in that. So you
Right.
might be a better fit for someone else, but I really believe in order for you to truly excel, then you need to know everything and be, again, boots on the ground.
I think having that passion as an entrepreneur, as a founder, if you don't want to be involved at the ground stage, that's very telling to me as a coach, as an advisor, as someone who's going to help a business grow. If you want to say, okay, here's my idea, let me get somebody else to run with it. Are you in it for the passion, or are you in it for the money?
Yeah, I've had that a few times on calls, and I say immediately, I'm like, it's probably not a good fit. Like, I call our community builders. They're all people that want to build, that they want to learn. They come to the workshops every week. They really care about evolving as humans and being better as people and better business people and better everything. And those are the type of people that the lab attracts.
Absolutely. So I'm going to step back just a little bit. Actually, it's probably a year and a half, 2 years when we first met. And one of the reasons we first met is we're both Buckeyes. Well, I think you transplanted to Columbus, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Columbus. But you are a graduate of Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And when we first met, you were getting ready to start your first semester teaching there.
So basically, I went to Miami. I graduated in 2010. It's been like 15 years. And I'm in touch with the department heads because I worked for them when I was a senior. They gave me access to all the things that I wanted before I found my first position. And they reached out and said, hey, are you interested in teaching? And I said, actually, could be a lot of fun. It would be a great opportunity for me to test student entrepreneurs as well. I have 4 kids, so being a teacher is part of my nature. We teach our children, but I also wanted to see, is higher education something that I want my kids to go through, or like, what's it like now compared to when I was there, which is very different considering COVID happened and changed the entire landscape for higher education. It's been 2 semesters, and I teach the lab. I teach our program at the universities. So the students go through the exact same thing the founders do. And it's been really fun. A lot of good ideas that have come out of it. I've had a few beauty tools, golf tools, lots of on-campus solutions, which is really exciting because they feel the pain every single day. Finding study rooms based on how many people are in the library, for example, where they should be going. Mental health support, so how to find buddies in the school. Maybe they had trouble finding friends, and they were trying to basically build community around it. So a lot of cool tools have come out of it. I don't know that any have actually launched into the real world, but I've gotten good reviews, so I'm probably going to do it one more semester at least.
And what you're doing is you're building a generation of problem solvers. Students that are now learning to think on their feet, identify a problem, identify a solution, and either make the solution work or figure out why the solution didn't work and start the whole critical thinking. Okay, well, if that didn't work, what will? So kudos to you there.
So I'm really teaching them how to be resourceful. So I purposefully don't give them over instruction. I'm saying this is what we're going to do the entire semester. Every week is 10 points. I'm going to give you instructions of what you need to do for every week. And you have to achieve that and compound your learnings. The whole thing is compounding. It's not a new exercise for a different topic every week. And every week I'm seeing if they're able to find something on literally Google or use AI. I encourage them to use these tools, and I'm able to see how many of them are scrappy and basically have that it factor as a student. Because then they're asking for internships and jobs. And I'm saying, this is what you need to learn. No one's going to hire you if you can't figure these things out. So I'm testing you, not necessarily on how good your product idea is, but if you can solve problems. That's what you're getting graded on. And I see that every single week.
Love it. And you've now expanded your teaching to the Ohio State University. Go Bucks.
So I'm not teaching. Just for clarity, I did do a developers conference over there at the Ohio State that was funded. That conference was funded by a software innovation center, yes. And I also support at Techstars, which is also by the Ohio State University, but I'm not officially teaching.
I will give you credit for that.
Thank you.
And there's a little university somewhere in New England. I think it's called Harvard.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
got to be smart to be able to work with them, right?
Yeah. That was sort of a fun moment to get approached by that. I did a 3 hour session with over
Wow.
200 young women entrepreneurs, basically on how to take an idea and turn it into something. Um, it was extraordinary, truly. In college, I don't know what it was like for you, but when I went to university, there were not really that many things for female entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurship program in general, heavily male dominated in the business school. I wasn't in the business school, so I didn't really have anything outside of learning things on my own. When I went to this event, it was amazing. I know I kept telling the organizers, I never had this. You don't understand how impactful this is for students to have this opportunity, to be able to be in another room full of other students, to learn from one another, to have these resources. It was truly astounding. And I applaud them all the time. So I'm like, this is amazing. It was a really great experience. Met with so many young women that had really amazing ideas. It was awesome.
I think you're absolutely right as far as entrepreneurship being taught and available in higher education. When I was in my undergrad at John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio, University Heights, Ohio, there was no entrepreneurship taught. Present day, they have a whole department, and it's actually led by one of my classmates, Dr. David Clifford. So, hi, Dave. So it's great to see that the Bowler School of Business has a whole department dedicated to that. When I got my
Mhm.
MBA at University of Georgia, go Dogs, they had an entrepreneurial school as well, and I was able to focus on that. And that program was so strong, so strong. And I met some great mentors and leaders, such as Christopher Hanks, Jim Beach. Jim has a podcast, the School for Startups. So those resources are plentiful these days. And I think that is so critical for the younger generation and even the older generation that goes back to school later to, when it wasn't available earlier in their careers to go back and say, you know what, I missed this earlier. I'm grabbing onto it now. So putting that in schools to impact future generations, Nomiki, I applaud you for that. And thank you for just spreading knowledge. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, with the Gen Z generation, they're really interesting because they see what's available to them. They see how social media works. They know how to game the system. And when they do that, they're starting to see, oh, I can make money off this. So then they already have this entrepreneurial mindset. I think pairing that with what's available in higher education is incredibly impactful. And I wish they did more of that so that we can see more of those Gen Zers flourish truly after school and have both opportunities, all those doors open.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage them to not just look at, okay, what quick business can I
You're right.
start and turn, building a bunch of apps that are game apps or social apps that maybe small scale, sell a bunch of subscriptions and then go on to something else. That may feed their need and their wallet, but let's build something that's more substantial, more community driven, more mission driven, and something that's going to really impact their legacy or make a real impact on the economy, employees, make jobs, things of that nature. Think
Mm-hmm.
big. Think big.
Yeah, what I've learned too is that maturity has a big play here. And even me, it took me probably in the last 5 years to really hit a growth trajectory of my mental maturity and how to handle business. And I've seen myself up until that point truly learning and being in the moment and thinking smaller. And it took a lot of failure, a lot of experiences for me to actually see the big picture. And I think at that age, they might not have that maturity or the experience yet. So life experience is really important, I think. Though it's not impossible. I've seen a lot of young students, young individuals in general, build awesome businesses. But I definitely think maturity has a longer term play in their success.
Absolutely. And, everybody having a starter business, most entrepreneurs do.
Yes, we all do. We were just laughing yesterday, my friend and I, a year and a half ago. I started a company, an e-commerce business. I was really good at logistics. I had a lot of experience in e-com. I was like, oh, I'll just create my own e-com business. And I did, like within 2 months, and it was up and running. It's called The Modern Gardens. And we were laughing yesterday. I was like, do you remember that time that I thought I would actually enjoy that? And like that kickstarted everything from there because I learned really fast, took a ton of knowledge and said, oh, that sucks. Let me do something that I actually want to do. So those starter businesses are very real.
Yeah. I had an e-commerce site as well. It was purely a money-making venture. I did not have any passion in it whatsoever. So about a year and a half later, I consolidated my inventory, donated it, and I'm like, I'm out of here. Let me go back to the one
Yep.
I'm passionate about.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I'm not even a gardener. I don't even garden, Michelle. And I was like, this is cool. I like visual aesthetic. Let me find like the modern, beautiful gardening things and I'll sell that stuff. And we did. We sold some things, but I hated it. I was like, what am I doing? You live and you learn. You live and you learn.
That's true. Lesson learned. So back to PDS Lab and Theanna. 3 pillars that you kind of founded your enterprise on: community, education,
Yep. And action.
and action. So the power of 3, it's easy to remember. So whenever you boil it down to 3, they usually have good meaning. Why did you select those 3?
So I've spoken to thousands of women this year, like truly so many women. And at the lab, there's around 80, but when I started to talk to more women every single day, systemic issues started to arise. Like I was able to see the 10,000 foot view a lot more clearly because I was talking to so many people. And the lab serves a need for product development. And it does a really good job at that. We've had a lot of success with founders building and launching their technology, getting their first customers, all the things. But at scale, it wasn't solving for moving the systemic issues of access. So what I tried to figure out was like, what am I solving now? What am I learning from other communities I'm a part of? How people operate, how women operate. How do they make decisions? What is their risk tolerance? Like, are they risk averse? Do they need to see the roadmap ahead of them? And I started to learn every day a little bit more about how women operated at mass, right? There's always an anomaly. I'm specifically an anomaly. And so it was actually a really good learning opportunity for me to see, oh, they don't operate like my brain operates. Let me understand how they do and what I can do to support them. So Theanna, I'm launching as a skeleton, really the base of the foundation. Again, foundational. So before I go into how I'm doing that, what I started to do just some discovery on other tools that were out there that were helping female founders. And there's tons of communities, right? Lots of great businesses that are around in-person events, community-driven atmospheres. Because women thrive in communities, okay?
Yes.
They want to be around people that are doing very similar things to them because we care about impact, right? That gives us fuel. The second thing is they need access to education, like the how. What am I supposed to be doing at the stage that I'm in? And I learned that too, that they struggle to get those things because there's so many resources online that it's almost a lot of noise. Even though it's not noise, there's so many good quality things out there, educational resources out there. But when you're inundated every single day with so many of them, with the age of the internet right now, it gets overwhelming. So that leads into education is so important. But what's more important than education is action. So
Absolutely.
actually seeing what's in front of them with the community based on their industry, their location, their stage, how to take action to move the needle. So the foundation of Theanna is built on bringing all those pillars into one that I've learned, segmenting them based on their industry. So like healthcare, for example, where are all the healthcare female tech founders? Let's get them in a space. Now, what stage are they all in? Idea, launch, grow, or scale? Because what's happening is women want to learn from people ahead of them that are ahead in their journey, 6 months, 12 months ahead of them. And those women, they want to give back. So how do we create this circular movement in the tech economy for female founders specifically so that we can move the needle? I mentioned earlier too that only 2% of women reach 7 figures in business, right? That's $1 million.
Right.
So if we support more women to build generational wealth through these small increments, you don't have to you can build a sustainable business. A sustainable business does not have to be a unicorn. Every single person thinks about that, but only 0.5% of companies are venture backed. So, how do we help the 99.5% of businesses move the needle? And for women specifically, how can I get them to seven figures faster? So now that's my first mission is how can I move the needle for women in all these industries in those four stages to get to $1 million faster? And how long will it take? So if I can move the needle from 2.2% to 2.1% in a year's time, guess what? I've won. We've won. So how do I, then I want to see what happens year over year. How many people can I move the needle from each stage? It starts with your idea. If I have 1,000 women with an idea, how do I get those 1,000 women to launch? Because right now, they don't see the action education combined with the community to do that. And that's what Theanna's going to do.
That's incredible. And, you have to think about the trickle-down effect, too. You have all of these women taking action. Women are huge role models. And don't just think about for other women, because if you see that the woman next to you can do it, or the woman that lives across the street or in the cubicle next to you or behind you can do it, you feel a little bit more confident to take that step. But look at the other people in your household, your sons, your daughters, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins. I'm not saying that men aren't role models, but when a woman takes the initiative to go out on a limb like that, it makes other people a little bit braver.
Well, I think so because, my husband's an inspiration. My dad's an entrepreneur. They're all wonderful. I have four brothers. They're all crushing it in business. They're all amazing. But that's the status quo. So I think we're trying to have a shift in general for women that we can be caretakers, we can be entrepreneurs, we can show our daughters what's possible. I was actually just in a podcast last week and someone asked me like, why is it so easy for you to be able to do these things? I'm like, well, my mom had 5 kids and she ran a business for 30 years. I
First
knew
of all,
no
who said
different.
it was easy? It's not
Oh,
easy.
so hard.
It is not easy.
It's so difficult. I think
but
too,
you do it because you love it.
Right. I'm so driven by seeing change happen right in front of me every single day. Something happens every day that I'm like, oh my God, it's working. It's actually working. Imagine if I can do that at scale. So that keeps driving me. And then you mentioned our kids, like, I have 4 kids, but my oldest is a girl and she's 8. At night, my husband and I, we switch bedrooms and I get to hang with her. I'm like, what do you want to talk about tonight? She asks me about my business. Tell me about PDS Lab. Who did you help today? She's asking me that. I'm like, she's watching me do this. Yes. She comes home, she passes my office and my son, and they see me on the phone. They see me having these conversations. That impact for my 8-year-old, she asked me if she could start a business. I'm like, hell yes, you can. So I know that it's already happening. It's just a matter of doing that at scale. I'm so excited for what's to come.
Now, flip that on the reverse. Let's say that you were in a job, an 8 to 5. You didn't like it. You had a commute that sucked. You didn't have a male or female boss that understood you, that gave you opportunities and resources. Your coworkers it wasn't a good environment. The work was not challenging. And you got home every night. You're like, oh, thank goodness, 3 more days to the week. Your daughter would see that too.
Yes, and you know what? I was in that situation with a startup that got acquired by a bank, and we were on a retainer for like 3 years. Those 3 years were the worst of my entire career. I was so bored that's when I decided to kickstart my consulting business. So I was working double because I'm like, I'm so bored. My brain is literally not working. I need to have brain movement so that I feel like I'm accomplishing something. So they were too young to see me in that point of view, but I remember feeling like I could do this work in 1 hour. Why am I here for 8?
Yeah. I have a saying, better busy than bored. So if you're in a position where you're not feeling fulfilled, whether you're an entrepreneur and not feeling fulfilled, or a W-2 and not feeling fulfilled, You need to be somewhere else. Find a way to be
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled. Either shake things up where you are or get somewhere else. Because not only do others see where you are, you need to see where you are, and you need to inspire
100%.
yourself.
Michelle, I just had a woman sign up for the lab yesterday, and her email to me prior to signing up was, I'm not sure if this is the time for me, but my daughter is noticing that I'm grumpy and asking me about being grumpy, and I can't figure that out. And my response to her was, listen, we can help you do anything. If you're ready, let's rock and roll. But at the same time, if that's not what's calling you, you need to find out what's calling you to do something different. And that may be the lab and building product and business, but that might be something completely different. And that's what you need to figure out. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we need to be mindful of time because you have another founder that you're helping here shortly. But I want to
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention two things. First of all, we mentioned the other day when we were talking a book that I was unaware of, but you
Yeah.
mentioned the book, The Mom Test, and it's by Rob Fitzpatrick. I found it very intriguing. Can you summarize real
Mm-hmm.
quickly what that whole concept
Sure.
is?
So the mom test teaches you how to have quality conversations with your potential customers so that you don't invalidate your data. The goal of the lab is to make sure that you build something that's been validated, the problem specifically. I have everyone read it because it teaches you how to reframe your conversations to get good quality data from those conversations. It is the easiest read. I read it every single month. And like I said, the PDS Labbers are required because it helps them think about how to have conversations to glean good insights.
So basically, if you ask your mom, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" "Oh,
They're going to
Michelle,
say, yep,
Nomiki, it's fabulous. It's going to work so well." Yeah, that's not the truth.
yeah, right. People
Ask
are
the
lying to you
question.
because they don't want to make you feel bad.
Ask the
Yeah,
question a different way to different people. That's the mom
exactly.
test. And I'll put
Mm-hmm.
information about that in the show links. And I also have the link that you shared with me from the resources on the PDS Lab website, and it is about
Mm-hmm.
investor resources.
It's a database of 1,200 resources, 545 of them specifically support women.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So even if you are not female and you're watching, this
Mm-hmm.
episode delivers value to you as well. And that link will definitely give you some opportunities to find investor resources.
Yes.
So, Nomiki, you had mentioned that you would welcome some conversations. Do you want to share what that offer is?
Absolutely. So I'm obnoxiously visible on all things internet, but find me on LinkedIn, chat me, let's set up some time to call if you need support. Whether I'd be a good fit for you or not, I'm always happy to talk to female founders that are in tech specifically anytime. So please reach out.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier to me, you are not geography specific.
Correct. We're a global accelerator.
Awesome.
And
Uh,
Theanna's global too.
awesome. And again, on LinkedIn, it's Nomiki Petrolla. And of course, you can just look at the episode
Yes.
title and figure out how to spell it.
Thank you so much for having me today, Michelle. I so appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Anytime I can catch up with you, I thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you again for all that you do to promote innovation and providing resources and accessibility to founders. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you, audience members, for joining us. And if we can provide additional value on different subjects or provide resources that you have not yet seen on one of our episodes, please share some feedback. Let us know what topics and information you'd like us to share. In the meantime, let us know what you're finding of value and how we can help you go, grow. Have a great day.